Another game for the Gorillas, a 38-35 remarkable come-from-behind victory over then number one Northwest Missouri State at Arrowhead in Kansas City. So it's always a great day to be a Gorilla. It was just a little more fun on Saturday, but we have to remember it's only Game 5 of the season. So, Coach, gosh, an exciting day, and some people might say improbable, all those things. But it was a great win, but I know you feel like there's a long way to go.
Yeah, there is a long way to go. We obviously when the game started, everybody was kind of wondering what was going on. But, they scored 21 points so fast that we really, didn't even have the time to catch our breath, I don't think. But, they scored so quick and so fast, and they're maybe as explosive offensively as I've ever seen them. They really don't have any weaknesses. Their offensive line is probably as good as it's ever been, and they've got really good skill positions, tight ends, receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks. And our defensive coaches knew that going in, and boy, they were scoring really fast. But it was just a matter of defensively us kind of getting settled in and us putting some drives together offensively. But, again, like you said, this was a huge game for us. But on the other hand, Week 5, Game 5, and this week, starting tomorrow, our guys got to get focused on Fort Hays State.
What about the maturity and the poise it takes to not hit the panic button in that ballgame?
Well, it was hard not to panic a little bit. I think, and again, at halftime, I think we were more shocked than we were panicked. I felt like our kids thought they could play with them and, get things going again. It was just a matter of having some things go our way instead of everything going their way. And our defensive coaches did a great job. And, I want to, say that I felt like our coaching staff did a tremendous job at halftime because I was able to go in and talk to the team a little bit and, just visit about, what we needed to get done to get back in the game. And our coaches have worked extremely hard throughout the halftime at all positions just to make sure that they understood their assignments and try to refocus and do some things a little bit different. But coaches did a really good job at halftime getting them ready to go for the second half.
You talk about experience, and there's no substitute if you haven't been there. Do you, even with guys that have, do you still worried about going into an NFL stadium and their head on a swivel a little bit?
Well, there's for sure some of those kids are like that, And again, I think Friday helped a little bit, being able to go through practice on Friday and kind of go through some things. But there's still that factor, that wow factor when you get in there and see the fans, and you don't really realize how loud it is until you get into the game. But again, this wasn't the most well-attended game that we've been to, but as far as I was concerned, it was the loudest game that we've been to.
Well, it's such a big weekend, and you build up for that you go into the game, focus on a game is one thing, and then when it starts the way it does, I'm sure you worry about that a little bit. You've preached, though, a lot about the 21-point rule. What do you tell your players in that case?
Well, that's a great example of it, and I think that, I think it was inevitable that they were scoring so fast and so quick that they relaxed a little bit. I think you could see that see them relax a little bit, and then there were just so many things that were in our favor. For example, once we got back into the game and started going, most of their players hadn't played more than 30 or 40 plays in a game. They hadn't played 70 plays like our kids had played. And so towards the end, I think you could see that they were wearing down a little bit, especially when our offense would go on a couple of drives that they went on. You could really see them. There were some defensive linemen, really good defensive linemen, that they wanted to keep in the game, but they were dragging a little bit towards the end.
And you try and script certain things, and you never know how it might play if they run into each other in the backfield and fumble, and Spencer has that ball, I think, bounce right back through his legs, and then you fumble your first. They go down and score. You fumble your first play, and I guess regardless how the game comes out, is that one of those situations you're just wondering, man, 6 inches one way or the other, it's a completely different scenario.
Well, we were still going to have some of the problems that we had defensively covering the vertical stuff that they run. They did such a good job with that. But it's still, you and I have talked about this before, there's things that happen early in the game that can really change the complexion of a game. And that was the play to me. I mean, they fumbled that. We think we have it. We don't get it, and then here they go, bang, 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 and they're down there and they score. We turn around, we get it out there and on the 20-yard line, and we get 6-7 yards on first down, and then we turn the ball over, and then they turn around and score again. So, boy, those things make it tough, and not very often are you going to turn the ball over against a team like that and be able to come out on the winning side of it.
Do you see anything different with their team compared to just a year ago when Coach Churchman was still there?
Not really. I think, our theme for practice last week was to practice extremely fast, and we talked about it every day, and I think our work team guys did a really good job of giving us a good look, but we tried to go as fast as we could throughout practices last week, and I think they are extremely fast. I think that you can see the stuff that they do with getting the ball to the edge. They're not real fancy in their run game, but they do just enough to keep you honest inside. They've got good backs that if you get a crease, they can really do some things. And so we had to match their speed, and I think eventually, Jason Pete's a good example of he had a couple of tough plays early on, but eventually he was able to kind of settle in and play those plays a lot differently as it went. And that's a lot of that is playing at that game speed and getting kind of settled into what you have to do and how fast you have to do it.
Yeah, their tempo, I thought, consistently more fast. They've always kind of been that no huddle, but not always that tempo, so good adjustment on the part of the Gorillas there. All right, time for our first break. When we come back, we'll delve into that first quarter, and it was a dandy. We'll be back with the Coach Tim Beck Show right after this.
OW.
Welcome back to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. That was certainly one of the big plays in that ball game for the Gorillas Saturday, that reverse option pitch. Maybe we could just skip the first quarter and go right to the third quarter and recapping that game. Something we do here, though, appreciate Ahmad and his staff at Chatters and Fat Daddy's. Free breakfast, dine-in only, includes drinks, expires at the end of this calendar year. Coach Beck's going to draw a name out of the bucket and come on down and get your prize. So there are rewards. Emily Beitzinger, come on down, and rewards to showing up. So I don't know if she's even listening back there. Those teenagers are good at not listening. So, Emily, you come down here and get your coupon and enjoy free breakfast at Fat Daddy's, courtesy of Ahmad and his staff here. We'll do that again a couple of times a little bit later in the show, so we'll look forward to that. Well, a rough first quarter, as I mentioned there. Northwest looks like the back and quarterback run into one another to start that game, and fumble, and Spencer Worthington does everything but grab it, but that football doesn't bounce straight very often. It looked like it kicked back between his legs, and then they go 7 plays, 69 yards in 3:17. And you talk about them, Coach, being balanced. I mean, they are incredibly close to a 50-50 team, although not quite as good with the run the other day. But from early in that game, you get a look at all the weapons they have.
Yeah, you really do. They do a good job of setting things up, and they'll run a formation and run the ball and then come back and throw it, or they'll run the same formation and throw it and come back and run it. And they do a nice job of keeping you off balance. And again, they're a different running style than we are by a long shot. They actually run a couple of plays, I think, that they got from us, and we actually do a couple of things that we've picked up from them. And but they do a nice job of being very balanced.
When you look at all those things that they do, and there was one play in the second half, and it might have been when their backup guy was in, they snap it, he rises up, he fakes a throw one way, does a 360 and throws it. How tough is that? Give people an idea. How tough is that to prepare for those things during the week and then yet still pull it off at game speed?
Well, the biggest thing is they don't do very many things more than once. There's some things they do, especially in the run game, that they do week to week. But in the pass game, boy, I tell you what, it's hard to prepare for because they just continue to add. They continue to add more stuff and more stuff. So the stuff that you see on video and a lot of stuff that you practice against, unlike other schools and other teams, you're not necessarily going to see that on Saturday. And so they continue to add new stuff. And the one play you're talking about, I think they threw the tight end over the middle later in the game after they, looked one way, faked it to their sideline, and then reversed out and threw the tight end on a little delay route down the middle. And those things are extremely hard to prepare for because you haven't seen them before.
Yeah, once every 3 games. In your offense, multiple choice, and even your days as coordinator, you've been as innovative as anybody trying to do different things. Are you still amazed at where football has gone as far as the offenses they give you to prepare for?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is everybody now. I mean, most everybody's got some really good players in this conference, but the other thing is everybody, you have to defend the whole field. And it's unlike you used to be able to, even when we were in the split back veer, you didn't defend the whole field. Now you spread everybody out completely all over the field. You have to defend everything from sideline to sideline, whether it be run or pass. And, it makes it very, very tough on defenses.
Well, they go right down the field, one play from your own 20, you lay it on the ground. And another situation, though, it looked like Bryson may have been stood up. And I know BJ was on the field for us. He had a hard time seeing where that ball came out.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's even really hard to see on video. And again, because of the officials don't blow the whistle because they're worried about having an inadvertent whistle, so they just don't blow the whistle a lot. If they don't see the ball stop for sure, they won't blow it ever. And so it's another one of those times where it felt like good chance that his forward progress was stopped, but they were able to get the ball out, and we just got to do a better job of taking care of it.
Well, they get backed up. There was a penalty after that, and then they had a 5-yard penalty. They're pushed back, but boy, it didn't matter. 5 plays, 41 yards, actually went 49, and Christopher to utter an 8-yard pass. You stop them on 1st and 10 sometimes. They were in 2nd and 20 there. They get 10 yards. How dangerous are they? Because 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10 doesn't seem to bother them.
Yeah, first down is not as big a deal to them as maybe it is to us. To us, it's a really important down. We always want to get positive yards, and to them, as spread out as they are and as often as they are, it's not as big a deal because they're going to zip it all over the field. And so sometimes it's no big deal to them. And as you saw them complete some big 4th down plays.
And then you get the ball back, and nice play call. I really liked it, the fake punt. Joe Winchell running. There's a former quarterback used to having the ball in his hands and maybe didn't know somebody's on his heels. I thought if he dove, he would make it. But how'd you feel about the execution of that?
Well, we had exactly what we wanted, and we've called it a couple of times this year. This wasn't the first time we've called it, but we've called it and called it off because they didn't line up exactly how we had it. So Coach Pierce gives a signal from the sideline, but we had it. We had exactly the alignment we wanted. It was a block down, kick out. We had everything. Joe just needed to go ahead and take it inside the kick out block. And if he'd have done that, he'd have got the first down. He knows that, and that's exactly. I'm thinking exactly like you are. I've saw him carry the ball too many times in high school. I know he knows how to carry the football, and it's just one of those things. He got in the game and got excited and thought, well, I'm gonna run it around the edge and go get a bunch of yards instead of getting it vertically and going and getting the first down.
There's a kid extremely decorated, a 4-year starter on defense, 3-year starter at quarterback out at Smith Center, and a big part of their record run. And obviously his injury problems early in his career, 4th-year sophomore, but playing linebacker, what's it look like for him in the future?
Well, he's continuing to get better and better and better. He's linebacker's a position that he hadn't played a lot of, and he's Coach Roth coaches him, and he's of course gets to see Nate Dreiling and Luke Stringer every day, and that obviously helps. And so he's a guy that's continuing to get better, and he's our next guy in if something would happen to one of those guys to get hurt.
Yeah, those guys, boy, hard-nosed, strong-boned and good football players. Well, Northwest would take advantage, unfortunately, after the failed fake punt. 2 plays, 53 yards, 34 seconds. So they've run 14 plays. They're up 21-0. You've had the ball twice. That play, long touchdown pass to Shaw. He's a burner for them. We're number 4. Did it look like your corners a couple times get caught looking in the backfield? I know you preached about don't bite on that hard play action.
Yeah, there's no question. And it's extremely hard not to, because you want to help defend, the run stuff to the edge. And so, boy, that's something our coaches worked hard on throughout the week. It's just until you see it live, until you see it in live and color, it's really hard to prepare for. And, again, it's something we're striving for to improve our play action pass. And so, until you see it live, it's really difficult to stop.
I know Aaron McConnell during the broadcast that defensively it is hard not to want to do too much. And when you get caught peeking and they beat you on play action or you over pursue, it allows for cutbacks. Did you think those were factors in that first quarter?
Our coaches prepared for a lot of the stuff that they had done up to that point, and they run a stretch play where we call their offensive line express block, where they just run full speed to the right or full speed to the left, and they really do a nice job with it. And our guys, they maybe ran that play one time early, and then they never really ran it again much. And again, I think it showed the speed that we have on defense was kind of able to match what they do, and so I think they maybe thought that wasn't going to be as effective a play for them as it has against some other teams.
Well, down 21-0, then you go 3 and out, but then your defense gets a stop. You had field position there at the 19. They get one first down. They end up having to punt it. How nice was that, just to break serve once?
Well, just getting them to punt was, that's a small feat in itself. The 4 games they'd punted 7 times, so. And obviously we made them punt some more, but they did not, as you saw later in the game too, they weren't very interested in punting the ball to John Brown. And again, that helped us with field position. So, getting some big stops in the second half were really huge for our defense.
Well, you get it at 35, it's a 36-yard punt, a 5-yard return, really a nice drive, 14 plays, almost 8 minutes off the clock. It gets your defense a much-needed rest. How important just to get some points out of it and get off the schneid there?
Well, you go through that thought process of should we go for it here on 4th down, and we kicked 2 field goals there, and boy, you want to get, because you're down the way you are, you want to get more points than that. But we just felt the drive that we had was such a good deal. Thought it was just extremely important. It was still early enough in the game that we needed to get points, and we lined up and kicked 2 field goals and got us 6 points.
And how big is that to let your defense talk about some things with an 8-minute rest there?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Just letting them have some time and talk through some things, kind of maybe get their defensive guys settled down a little bit. Those long drives are extremely important for that.
Well, it was big, and then Pitt State would get another punt and have one. We'll talk about that second quarter in just a little bit. Eventually down 28-6 at halftime before quite a comeback, obviously, in the second half. So that and more still to come. We'll take a break and return with more of the Coach Tim Beck Show presented by CDL Electric right after this.